Now let's talk about red meats, poultry and fish cookery. Red meat, okay, yung beef, pork. Pag sinabi mo namang white meat, ito yung poultry at saka fish. Let's take a look at the structure and composition of meat. Sa ating naman klase nutrition, di ba, hindi naman masamang kumain ng meat. Kaya lang, ang ating recommendation is lean meat. No? Okay, reduce the intake of dung sobrang matataba, okay, na cuts ng karne, katulad ng liempo, but it is very tender and flavorful because of the good mingling of lean fat and deep fat. But of course, we would prefer yung kakainin ay yung lean meat. So, the structure consists mainly of three kinds of tissues. You have muscular or the lean, the fatty, connective tissues. Okay, of course, may bone, pero hindi siya primary component structure. So that's it. That's the bone. But you have the lean, ayan, yung laman. You have the connective tissues surrounding the muscle, itong chunk of meat, surrounding the muscle bundle, surrounding the muscle fibers, and of course, the fatty tissue, yung taba. No? Ito yung mga pag kumakain ka ng pork chop, ayun, mataba. Okay, taba yun. So the muscle tissue is actually composed of your fasciculi or bundles of individual muscle fibers. Okay, you have the sarcolemma, okay, the membranous sheath enclosing each individual muscles, the fibril or myofibril, which are the contracting substance in a muscle. Okay, muscles are the ones that are responsible for the movements in the muscle. Okay, go back. And sarcoplasm, just like protoplasm, contains other muscle constituents. So let's take a look closely at the structure of meat. So that is a fasciculus, okay, made of what you call a muscle fiber, okay, and the muscle fiber, okay, contains actin and myosin. Another illustration would be, okay, yes, that's it. So you have your muscle bundle made up of your muscle fiber, no? If you look closely at the muscle fiber, okay, there are striations. The striations, okay, are the myofilaments made up of actin and myosin. You see, the muscle cell, okay, looks like, its appearance under the microscope is long, slender, and tapering at both ends. And it has a lot of, you see, the black spots. I always lose my cursor and the black spots. Okay. What are the black spots? No? The black spots are mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Because for locomotion, for the contraction and relaxation of the muscle, you need a lot of energy. You need a lot of ATP. And ATP, okay, are generally produced in the mitochondria. So, okay, mitochondria. Again, going back to the muscle fiber, we say that the muscle is responsible for our locomotion, for the contraction and relaxation of the muscle. So that is now movement. Your muscle fiber again is made up of your myofibril or myofilaments. Your myofilaments primarily is made up of your actin and myosin. Proteins no, these are proteins, okay, that is actively involved in locomotion. Okay, when you know when muscle is at the contracted state, then actin and myosin are they are associated on what you call actino or actomyosin. That is, and when relaxed, they are dissociated into actin and myosin. The association and dissociation of your actin and myosin, okay, during locomotion is dependent on ATP. Okay, that's why there are a lot of mitochondria, okay, in the muscles. If there is enough ATP, then there is a continuous relaxation and contraction of the muscle. But once ATP is depleted, the muscle starts to form to be rigid and firm, like rigor mortis in animals. Kasi pag rigor mortis, pag animals, di ba? Kasi patay na nga, so wala nang respiration, wala nang metabolism, okay? And so if there is none, then what happens is there is no production of ATP, okay, at ang iyong muscle remains, the animal muscle, okay, remains at the contracted, okay, state. The connective tissue is the protein structure that surrounds living cells, giving them structure and adhesiveness within themselves and to the adjacent tissues. They also act as glue holding, as a glue holding the muscles together like your ligaments and tendons. So these are the connective tissues, that may be found, okay, in the muscle. You have elastin and reticulin. You see, if you look at meat, and you see it is surrounded by, the muscle fibers, or the muscle bundle is surrounded with yellow, okay, tissues, okay, then that is elastin and reticulin. And more of this would render the meat tough or more tough, which because elastin and reticulin, when you cook meat, cannot cannot be hydrolyzed in moist heat because elastin contains two unique amino acids, okay, like your desmosine and isodesmosine, which even moist heat cannot hydrolyze or break. You look at the meat, okay, you look again at the meat, of course, and you see white, the meat is like the muscle bundle again is covered by white tissues. Actually, that is collagen. It, of course, more abundant or most abundant than elastin. And collagen, when cooked, by moist cooking, it can be hydrolyzed to gelatin, like in bulalo. So that makes your meat tender, cooked meat tender. The connective tissue would also include ground substance. This is a gel, which cements the various connective tissues, and it is composed of your mucopolysaccharides, meaning sugar, sugary structure, okay, in embedded in a mucus. And you have cartilage. This is a special type of connective tissue composed of cells, fibers, round substance in which mineral salts are embedded. So, adipose tissue. Okay. The adipose tissue or the fatty tissue is distributed or invisible, distributed, okay, within, okay, and around, okay, the muscles. Other lipids may be present, like cholesterol, phospholipids, and some free fatty acids. Other components, okay, okay, would be extractives. Bakit ang beef mas malasa kaysa sa baboy? Bakit sila ang mas malasa sila kaysa sa chicken? At ang chicken mas malasa kaysa sa isda? Okay, because beef contain more extractives. These are the uh, nitrogenous compounds, okay, or end products of protein metabolism, such as uric acid, urea, okay, um, creatine, and the non-nitrogenous, such as lactic acid, pyruvic acid. So they are not actually proteins, okay, because but they contain nitrogen in their structure. You also would contain salt, amino acids, fatty acids, and glucose. Okay, the pigments, again, myoglobin, red in the muscle, hemoglobin, red in the blood, oxymyoglobin, bright red in fresh meat, metmyoglobin, brown in cooked meat, and nitrosomyoglobin, pink in cured meat. So what are the characteristics of meat according to age? Sabi nila, take a look at this, sabi nila, o yung mga observe, na yung young animals, okay, like pinkish, tapos habang nagmamature, okay, nagiging dark red. Okay. Yun namang fat, yung color, nagiging creamy, tapos nagiging white. Okay, white. Okay. Diba sabi natin pag white, parang the meat becomes uh, is tough, is tougher because of the presence of elastin. Distribution of marbling, okay, they are say very young, very thin, and none. But as the animal ages, okay, marbling is developed. Okay, a good marbled meat with a good distribution of fats, lean and fats, okay, uh, is very tender. And of course, as the animal ages, it is more flavorful, but more tough. Okay, and of course, the bone from white tinged with pink and flexible becomes white. Okay, less flexible as it's nearing maturity, and finally, white it is. Now the bone is quite rigid. According to source, no? Yan. Sabi nila yung daw fat ay ng beef ay more creamy than that of the pork, no, and the carabi. The color of the muscle, okay, ay pale, pero pag tumatanda na, lighter, habang yung bull, ano, tandang lalaki, baka, no, ay dark copper, right? Tapos yung pork naman, pale gray to pinkish. So, you see class, ano, sa market kasi, pag ako yung namimili, ang una kong tinitingnan ay kulay. For same species, ha? Siyempre, pag bright red, okay yan. Pag maitim na, hindi yan. Ayoko na yan. Kasi baka galing na yan sa matindang animal. And, ang tinitingnan ko din ay yung quality or texture ng inyong muscle bundle. Okay. Or the muscle fiber. Yung muscle fiber, yun yung bang pag kinain nyo, ang meat, yung pwede kayo matinga, lalo na yung natitinga kayo, sumasabit sa ngipin. Yun ang muscle fiber. You call it the grain of meat. So pag yung grain of meat ay long and slender, ano daw yun? The meat is tender. Galing pa sa batang animal. Pero kapag ang kanyang grain ay short and stout, ay tough na yon. And it could have come from an older animal or sa animal na nakapanganak na. Pero pinagbili pa rin, tinatay pa rin, pinagbili at okay, ginawang karne. So, factors influencing tenderness. The more tender the meat is, the more juicy. Okay, and of course, uh, as the more tender it is, the more it is, not the more juicy. So, factors influencing tenderness, amount and type of connective tissue. There should be more of collagen because collagen it should contain a lot of collagen, more than elastin. Okay, because collagen can be hydrolyzed by moist to gelatin and makes your meat more tender. Yes, marbling, quality and distribution of muscle fibers. Um, no, this is what I'm telling you earlier, not marbling. That should be fat, not fat of fibers. This is what I'm telling you earlier. No? Pag long and slender, okay, young, tender. Pag short and stout, okay, comes from older animals, may be tough or less tender. Yes, marbling. Okay, amount and distribution of fat. You know, fat brings about tenderness. Okay, any meat cut that has a lot of fat, okay, makes it more tender, juicy, and flavorful. So the amount of fat and distribution of fat in meat is what we call marbling. No, you must have a very good distribution of or uh, yes, distribution of fat. Okay, within the muscles, like in your liempo or bacon. Okay, lean, fat, lean, fat, and of course aging. No, you subject the meat uh, under low temperature or at low temperature. Okay, okay, tenderness is also achieved. Juiciness related to tenderness. Again, aging. Okay, marbling. Fishy. Mm, no? Ang baka, mas matigas. Ang karne ng baka, mas matigas. Sa karne ng baboy, ang baboy mas matigas kaysa sa karne ng ah, manok. At ang manok, mas matigas kaysa doon sa isda. Ang isda ang pinaka-malambot. For the age of the animal, siyempre, sabi nila yung mga elderly, dehydrated, no? Kami daw, mga elderly, dehydrated na. O, kaya, the wrinkles would show. Ganon din sa animal. Loses its juice, loses its juiciness. Ganon din sa animal with age. Loses then juiciness when one gets older. And the type of muscle in the okay, carcass. Again, okay, pag exercise, okay, so less tender, okay, but more flavorful. So it is less, kasi less tender, so less juicy. Okay, pag naman least exercise, okay, more tender, but less flavorful. And again, method of storage. Okay. Storing under cold temperatures, okay, would improve, okay, the tenderness in meat. And of course, method of cooking. Never too fast, never too slow. Just moderate. Okay. Or medium heat. How do you know it's medium heat? Okay. When the tip of the flame barely touches, no? It just simply touches the bottom of the cooking pan. That is medium heat. Again, influencing flavor, okay, as that of juiciness and tenderness would be age, Amount of exercise, as I mentioned to you earlier, the more exercise the muscle from which the meat cut would come from, okay, then results in a less tender but more flavorful, okay, cut of meat. And of course, ripening is the same as with aging. Okay, so you store it under low temperature storage. Okay, that improves okay, flavor. Okay, not only flavor, but also that would improve tenderness. And of course, feel. Okay. Look at chicken. No? Pag kumakain ka ng chicken, especially, no, you look at the fat, it's yellow. Okay. Kaya nga yung inyong chicken, parang pag kumain ka ng chicken, parang kumakain ka na din ng corn. Kasi they usually feed on yellow corn. At ang kanilang fat is yellow. So let's take a look at the changes in meats after slaughter of an animal. Okay. Okay. Now, class. Immediately after the death of the animal or after you have slaughtered the animal, this is the best time to cook meat because the muscle is still pliant, soft, gel-like. It is extensive and sticky. But of course, we cannot do this, okay, because we cannot buy meat from the slaughterhouse. Okay, it has to be prepared, okay, into different market forms, okay, and then sold in the market. Okay, the pH of unslaughtered of the muscle of unslaughtered animal changes from pH 7 to 7.2 to from pH 7 to 7.2 to pH 5.5. Okay, due to the formation of lactic acid, okay, and aerobically from glycogen. You still remember your aerobic glycolysis and anaerobic uh, glycolysis? Pag aerobic, okay, saan pupunta? Ano ang product ng aerobic glycolysis? Di ba pyruvate? Okay, pyruvate. Ibig sabihin may oxygen, ano? May oxygen doon sa katawan ng animal. Pero pag anaerobic, wala nang oxygen kasi patay na siya, di ba? Patay na siya. So instead of forming pyruvic acid, you form lactic acid. And lactic acid is an acid. So it changes. Okay, there is a decrease dissolving and a decrease in pH. And of course, you see, rigor mortis, or the temporary rigidity of the muscle that develops after the death of an animal, just a few hours, maybe 4 hours, okay, may already be developed. So when the meat, which is the carcasses, so, or the different retail cuts may reach the market, it could have already developed, okay, rigor mortis. And when the meat is at this stage, then it is not suitable for the cooking. I have already explained how rigor mortis is attained when I was talking about structure of the meat, and it's something to do with the decrease in the ATP production. Kasi syempre, pagpatay ng animal, yun na nga, okay, aerobic glycolysis, okay, would occur, hindi naman din, dahil sa walang oxygen, dito papasok sa inyong Krebs cycle, okay, okay, to produce, let's say, a lot of, to produce your ATP. Krebs cycle and finally to your electron transport system to produce ATP. Patay na yung animal. So, wala nang metabolism. No? Wala nang glycolysis. So, pag ganon, di walang ATP na, di ba? Actin and myosin are, ano, associated. Mm. So that now results in the rigidity, the contracted state of the muscle. They said it is temporary. So I said, so do not cook. You allow rigor mortis to pass. And you can do this by ano, cook it later. Place it inside the chiller or place it inside the refrigerator. You will notice that the big companies like Monterey never sells their never sell its product unchilled or unfrozen. It's always chilled because chilling, okay, could help rigor mortis to pass. So yun, maglulutuin, pwede lulutuin later, later in the afternoon, okay, o sa gabi o kinabukasan, mas maganda. Okay, para ma-overcome na yung rigidity of the muscle or rigor mortis. Okay, yes, after a few days, better in the freezer, if held at temperatures above freezing, okay, we call this aging, there is a gradual tenderization. Why? Again, because, again, because, okay, the enzyme catepsin, okay, is activated. So it's again an enzyme, okay, that is a proteolytic enzyme that can break down proteins and result in, okay, meat tenderization or the mechanical separation of the muscle fibers could also enhance meat tenderization. Now, the dark cut beef or very dark sticky beef develops if the final pH of about, okay, 6.6 is reached during the aging period as the carcass passes through, okay, rigor mortis. Some say it is good, okay, but others, no, they look because the meat really becomes dark, okay, and what happens is that, okay, they become dark and sticky too. Others don't like it, but still good. The meat is still good. The meat is still tender. And an abnormally low pH, like 5.1 or 5.4 during rigor mortis switch, that results in a pale, soft, and exudative pork. So it is grayish in color, actually, wet in appearance, and a very soft texture. Well, some wouldn't want like that also. So let's take a look at the means of tenderizing meat. Okay, once the use of the proteolytic enzyme, okay, which catalyze the hydrolysis of one or more of the meat proteins, like bromelain from pineapple, fresh pineapple acts on collagen only. So if you want to do this, you mix your meat, no, yung pininyang manok halimbawa, okay, or your any cut of your red meat. Okay, ilagay nyo muna sa fresh pineapple, ibabad. Huwag sa canned pineapple. To give time for the bromelain to act on the collagen. Papain from papaya acts on muscle proteins, okay, and partly of elastin, but it is activated at high temperature. Okay, the use of marinades, that is acids, okay, cause greater solubility of collagen, making meat more tender. Mechanical means, pound it or grind it, especially tough kits. You remember, pag yung bistek, no, sa mga Batanggenyo, ang nanay ko, ang ginagawa niya, no, pag bumibili ng karne, kahit anong karne, lalo na kung baka, kasi matigas nga daw, kalabaw. Ginagawa niya ay kanyang pinupukpok ng likod ng kutsilyo. Okay, that improves, okay, tenderness. Or, you increase the surface area, ang gawin mo ay yung hiwain ng maliliit, no? Like ground meat, that cuts mechanically the fibers or subdivides your muscle fibers and connective tissues, and that could result in meat tenderization. Cooking, of course, observe moderately low temperature. Pag too high, tough, dry. Pag, again, too slow naman, okay, ganun din. It could be tough, it could be dry. So, moderately low cooking. Okay, freezing. Okay, as I mentioned earlier again, as we discussed, okay, the growth of the ice crystals, okay, mechanically separates the fibers. And again, resulting in heat tenderization. And ripening or aging, storage at low temperature, improves not only tenderness and flavor. And the natural ripening is brought about by the proteolytic enzymes on the muscle proteins you call cathepsin, cathepsin, and increasing acidity and tenderness of the meat. Let's take a look at the effects of cooking on meat. We mentioned one already. The pigment myoglobin, when you apply heat, changes in color from bright red to grayish brown, just to show you, okay, what happens. Okay, so that in the compound, okay, involved in the production of met myoglobin. Okay, you also would observe the loss in weight due to loss of fat and moisture, causing shrinkage and reduction in weight and volume. No? The reduction in volume, you see, because the muscle fibers are proteins. So once you apply it would coagulate. No? It would result in a little bit, just little bit toughness because of coagulation. But okay, as I've said, that would further result in the reduction in volume. Okay, that would be changes in the connective tissues. Okay, the heat converts collagen to gelatin, okay, like in bulalo. But of course, requires more heat than that to coagulate your muscle protein. Kaya nga, pag gusto mong palambutin yung muscle, andun talagang yung collagen is almost completely uh, has completely been uh, converted to gelatin. Then there is development of flavor due to the decomposition of fat and proteins. Amino acids and fatty acids, they have their own specific flavor and aroma. Well, of course, long cooking develops better flavor, but not too long. And short cooking, otherwise, or corollarily, short cooking does not fully develop the flavor. Let's take a look at effects of pH. You're preparing meat pie. Look at the color of the meat, because there is baking powder or soda. The color of the meat is darkened, and tenderness is not developed. Okay, if you in the presence of acid, the meat, okay, becomes more tender. Marinating, for example, as we mentioned, increases juiciness and tenderness. How about the effects of salt? The effects of salt, because salt, it enhances, water retention. Thus improves juiciness. Again, the effects of meat tenderizer, like mechanical meals, pounding, grinding, the addition of enzymes, bromelain and papain, marinating, cooking, freezing, ripening agent, all would enhance, okay, meat tenderization. Okay, one thing that you must be concerned with in storing meat is you must avoid food burn. So any food, meat, be it fish, be it chicken, be starchy food items, puto, or no, if ever you happen to place them inside the freezer or even inside the refrigerator, it must be fully wrapped, okay, to avoid the direct exposure of the meat, okay, to the freezing temperature or to the cold temperature. Because exposure, like freezer burn, is characterized by the development of a tough horny surface or layer. And that is, that freezing and refrigeration also has a dehydrating effect. Again, excuse me. Then, how about thawing? No, class, you must also prevent, you know, um, a series of like you thaw, you freeze, then you thaw the meat. That's not that. That's not good. That's bad because that is what we call, if you do that, okay, the meat becomes mushy. The meat becomes mushy, and it's not suited anymore for uh, cooking. So the best really to store meats is per recipe. Kung ah, kung bibili kayo ng 1 kilo at ang mauubos lang ay 1/2, so 1/2 at 1/2 ang pag-store. Para hindi the same meat, paulit-ulit ninyong thaw, freeze, thaw. And it is suggested that if you thaw meat, it must be in the refrigerator. Okay. Why? Not pag sa room temperature, or yeah, it must be only short and brief. Like if it's under sa tubig. Why? Because it may develop what you call green meat. Doon nga pag kayo bumibili rin sa palengke, titingnan nyo yung meat. Minsan nagagalit kapag inaamoy-amoy. Diba? Sino ba namang tinderang hindi magagalit? Aamoy-amoyin mo ang kanyang, aamoy-amoyin mo yung karne. But look at it. Pag nakakita kayo ng green-green na, minsan nagpo-flourish yan, yung kumikinang, huwag yun ang bilhin. Okay? Kasi, it is near putrefaction, pagkabulok. Okay. So thaw in the refrigerator for about 12 to 14 hours. Okay. And if under tap water for only about 1/2 to 1 hour to prevent, as I said, okay, putrefaction or spoilage in your meat. Let's take a look at the structure and composition of poultry meat. This is now we're going to white meat. It is similar to red meats, but only it has a distinct dark and white meat. Okay. The dark meat or the dark muscle are those muscles, okay, which are active, has more fat, connective tissues, and high myoglobin. High myoglobin, red, kaya the dark meat. On the other hand, the white meat has less fat, okay, no myoglobin, and does not react with the curing agents. Kaya yung breast nyo, pag gumawa kayo halimbawa ng chicken ham, may dalawang kulay yan as regards development of the desirable pink color. yung inyong mga movable parts, no, o exercise parts, okay, ito yung makaka-attain ng pink color, but not the breast, but not the breast, because, uh, yeah, but not the breast, okay, because it doesn't have the pigment myoglobin or less of the pigment myoglobin. Let's take a look at some of the defects in poultry cookery. Okay. There is what you call pink coloration. Minsan, pag tayo ay kumakain sa mga fast foods, pag pag sineparate natin yung karne, di ba? Okay. Minsan sasabihin natin hilaw kasi pink pa. Okay, it may not be, no? It may not be. Okay, that could be, that of course, you see, pink meat of course, when gas-fired oven is used for cooking, the carbon monoxide and nitric acid of the cooking flame can react with the hemoglobin of the chicken, forming your carboxy hemoglobin and nitric oxide hemoglobin, which are pink in color after heating. But actually, okay, it is not hilaw. It does not affect the quality of your, okay, cooked poultry meat. Then there is what you call meat and bone darkening in cooked frozen poultry. You see, kasi usually ang ating binibiling chicken ay 45-day-old chicken. Meron pa nga ngayong uso na 12-day-old, ano, na chicken. Yung isang kainan, okay, ubos mo ang isang whole um, chicken, or possibly you call that a chick. So, freezing and thawing release hemoglobin from the red cells in the bone marrow. Kasi yung 45-day-old na chicken, malambot pa yung kanyang buto. Okay. Then, bones of the slaughtered young chicken are still porous. Okay. And this porosity allows seepage of the pigment into the meat next to the bones. Kaya so, akala natin, pag again, sineparate natin, at ito'y maitim, sasabihin natin ay, tapos dyan aamoy-amoyin pa natin, sasabihin natin ito ay sira na or bulok. Then you would also observe difficulty in separating bones of thighs and drumsticks of chickens and turkey, even after extensive cooking. Why? Because this is due to elastin, which cannot be hydrolyzed, okay, with moist heat cooking. And this characteristics is again due to the presence of two amino acids you call desmosine and isodesmosine. And of course, rancidity. Okay. The fat in chicken is called soft fat. So it's either it's a good combination of short and long chain, okay, um, fatty acids, you know, in the fatty acid or in the triglyceride molecule. So it is soft. No, it considered soft fat. And yes, exposure, no, to the to oxygen or to water can cause, okay, rancidity. And of course, development of flavors, again due to rancidity, putrefaction, or contamination of foods and others absorbed during storage. Let's now talk about fish and shellfish. Board exam item asks you, is shellfish a fish? Like possibly, just like you will be asked, is amino acid an acid? Is the fatty acid an acid? What will be your choice of an answer? Yes or no? Of course, yes. Kaya nga, shellfish. Yung isa naman amino acid and your fatty acid. Okay. Well, the only difference between fish and shellfish is that fish is a vertebrate. Meron siyang tinik, meron siyang buto. Ang shellfish wala. Pero meron siyang hard shell or what you call a carapace. No? So there is saltwater fish and freshwater fish. Mudfish, the log, okay, is fresh. Saltwater fish, ano ito? Grouper, lapu-lapu, no, yung talakitok. So, lahat ng nahuhuli sa dagat, no, ay salt. Lahat ng nahuhuli sa lakes at sa rivers ay fresh. Siyempre, merong matabang isda daw at merong din fish. Okay. Yung matabang isda, ito yung mga tuna. Yung lean fish ay pwede na rin ang tilapia at saka bangus. And siyempre, merong big fish and small fish. Nakatikim na ba kayo ng dulong? No, small fish talaga. Pag tiningnan mo siya, akala mo madaming mga black spots. Yung pala, yun yung mata niya. No? So, of course, the big fish. No? Mga tuna, lakito, pampano, at iba pa. Okay. And then you have the crustaceans. No? Crabs. Hard carapace. Okay. Ano ba pa? Talangka. Sa ibang lugar, ang tawag dito ay kasag. May trivia ako, sagutin mo ako bukas, no? Sa chat. Okay. Sinasabi nila yung babae daw crab, you can distinguish kung lalaking crab doon sa kanyang ano tawag dito, sa kanyang shell, sa ilalim na shell, no, o carapace. Pag daw ito ay slender, lalaki. Pag ito ay wide, okay, ito daw ay babae. Ang tanong ko ay, anong tawag nyo sa lalaking crab? At ano ang tawag nyo sa babaeng crab? Trivia ito ha. Ano ang tawag nyo sa lalaking crab? At ano ang tawag nyo sa babaeng crab? Bukas, sagutin ninyo ako mamaya pa lang sa chat group. Tingnan ko nga kung kayo ay kung kayo ay merong creative mind. It may be true. It may be not. Okay. And then you have the mollusks. You have hard shells like oysters and tahong, the green mussels. Okay. How? That reminds me pala class. I hold you responsible for the wholesale and retail cuts of meat, the English, what is more tender, what is less tender, and what do you call the meat cut for each uh, species, as well as that of the fats that will be coming from them, no, kada isa. Ano yung mga klase ng species ng animal, okay, na best for uh, slaughtering, resulting in good meat. Like kung sa cow, sabi nila, mas magandang slaughter o mas maganda ang meat coming from slaughtered heifer or steer. Tapos ano ang English, no, ano ang English Tagalog equivalent sa meat? Ano tawag mo sa meat ng kambing, sa meat ng isa, sa meat ng baka, sa meat ng baboy? Ano, I hold you responsible for that, no? And the different market forms of meat. The same thing as with fish. Again, I hold responsible for the different market forms of fish, fillet, whole fillet, shock, so on and so forth. So, bahala na kayo doon. At saka yung English and Tagalog terms. Ano ang Tagalog sa fish? Ano ang Tagalog sa, ano ang English term sa dalag? Okay. Ano ang pagkakaiba ng swahe at saka ng supo? Okay. Ano ang English kaya sa tulya? At saka sa, ano to, of course, sa tahong ay Greek mussels. Eh, yung kayang tulya. Okay. Saan ba nakukuha ang tulya? Sa salt o sa fresh? Sa fresh fish. Sa fresh. Okay. Ang tahong galing sa salt. Di ba? tulya ay galing sa fresh. Okay. Yan ang classification ng fish. Okay. Finfish and shellfish. Finfish pag may buto, tinik, backbone. Shellfish ay may hard carapace or hard shells. So, pwede siyang ang finfish, pwedeng mga fresh. Okay, sorry. Maging fresh, ang salty, ganun din ang saltfish. The shellfish, ganun din. Okay. You see the crustaceans, you have crab, crayfish, lobster, sarap ng lobster. Shrimp, for the mollusks which have hard shells, you have the bivalve, like clam, mussel, oyster, scallop. Univalve, you have abalone. Okay. I don't know conch, but you have snail, okay, or susu, and you have the cephalopod, the octopus, and the squid. Okay, if you cut, no, if you cut the cross section of a fish, it was like this. Siyempre, meron isang inchan yung kanyang cavity, no? And, okay, yung mga fins, okay, you have the red or lateral muscle, yung pag, lalo na sa bangus, makikita mo yan pag inano mo yung skin, meron doon kulang naka-line along the skin. So, yun ang red or lateral muscle. Ito yung buto. And yung fish, you know, di ba, pag nakita mo lalo ng bangus, ano pa bang ano nito? Oh, kahit tilapia, makikita mo na merong
Photocopy
fish
na naman.
blocks or flakes, tuna. Okay. Ang tawag doon ay myotomes. Ang myotomes ang fish flakes or blocks. And the myotomes are connected by a pseudo connective tissue you call myocomata. Generally, fish, okay, does not have any connective tissue. Let's take a look at fish quality. No? Fresh fish quality. Sabi nila, ang fresh fish quality ay, totoo ba? That it should be fresh and mild odor. E paano pag hinuli mo dyan sa dito sa Laguna Lake, no? Okay, or sa any polluted bodies of water. Hindi na siya fresh and mild odor. Amoy pusali na siya. Okay. Pwede ding lasang pusali. The skin is shiny and tight, no? Shiny and tight. And of course, yung scales ay tight din, nakadikit, intact. Hindi yung naglalagas na. You have clear eyes, okay, okay, bulging and not sunken. You have firm flesh. Kapag sinundot mo, okay, magbabounce back. So it's quite flexible. No belly burn, okay, and gills are bright red. Okay. So these are the indications of fresh fish. Okay, have you observed that when you cook crustacean, crabs, for example, they change from red to that beautiful orange when cooked? Okay, okay, okay. This is what happens. Kapag hilaw, okay, yung inyong, no, so, this is a combination of your carotenoid and a protein. Okay, pag hilaw, itong dalawang ito, bound pa, no? Pero dahil sa ang protein ay heat label, kapag diluto mo, di ba, okay, this will separate, okay, and astaxanthins, this will coagulate. And therefore, this will release astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is a carotenoid, no? Yellow to orange color, no? So, yes, that is when you apply it, and that result in astaxanthin. So, the astaxanthin now, okay, this gives the yellow, no, the orange, that beautiful orange, okay, in cooked crabs. Remember, this is the protein that is found in, okay, in your raw crabs or crustaceans. Okay. Let me know. Why do fish cook fast? 10 minutes, luto na ang fish. Because if you overdo it, yan, hindi na siya ano na siya, maghihiwa-hiwalay na siya pag niluluto. Hmm? So you should cook it only within 10 minutes. No, it's cooked already. Bakit ganun kadaling lutuin? Kasi nga, wala siyang connective tissue. Hindi katulad ng meat, no? Lalo ng red meat, okay, marami siyang connective tissue. Now, let's go to egg. And that's the egg and egg curry. Okay, I think I don't have to describe what an egg is. Be it a chicken, a duck, a turkey, ano pa ba? Quail eggs, ano ba pa? From quails, from turtles, from an ostrich. Oh, have you seen an ostrich? Ostrich egg, lucky. It's quite expensive. Okay. Now, okay, often in during food preparation, it is said that we must use fresh eggs. Dapat sariwa. But how do you know that the egg that you are buying from the market is fresh or has not been stored for quite a long time? Okay. It's easy if you break it open, right? Because when you break it open, okay, okay, indications of freshness in eggs would be, look, the egg yolk is at the center and it is firm and standing. No, it is at the center because it is held tenaciously by this, your chalice or your chalice. And okay, the egg white, you called albumen, spelled with an M-E-N, okay, it does not spread and is also firm. It holds its shape. And there is a small, okay, there is a small air space. But you see, you cannot break open all the eggs that you want to buy to make sure it is fresh. But what you can do is you can look at okay, look at the shell. If the shell is dull and rough, okay, then that is still fresh. And that roughness, okay, the chalky appearance is actually your calcium carbonate. The same calcium that you take in or present in your caltrate or in any of your calcium, okay, supplements. So, yeah, in fact, my brother used to tell me, oh, para hindi ka magkaroon ng osteoporosis, sabi niya, alam mo, gawin mo dun sa eggshell, sa halip na gawin mo siyang artwork, eh, diktikin ko daw ng pinong-pinong-pinong-pino. Tapos, ibudbud ko sa aking sinangag. You know, that's true. Because exactly, that's I think what is, saan ba galing ang calcium na andun sa ating mga calcium supplements. Okay. So, that is good. That is still the same calcium. Okay. Okay. That is still the same calcium that you'll find in your uh, calcium supplement. Okay. The calcium that is found in the calcium. Pareho lang po sila. Okay. So, but when you break open the egg, you see, when you break open the egg, what happens is that, okay, as I've said, okay, you can clearly see, okay, whether the egg is fresh or not. Now, eggs at room temperature can keep for only 12, no, yeah, a week, 7 days. But at refrigerated temperature, it can keep at 2 weeks, no? Okay. It can keep within 2 weeks, okay? Why is this possible? One, because of the presence of the thick shell, okay, and that of the bloom. And that is the reason why you never wash eggs. When it is dirty, You simply wipe it, no, with a warm cloth, but never wash it because it washes away. Washing, okay, removes the bloom, which serves as a protection. Okay? Uh, so that moisture cannot get, even microorganisms cannot get in. Okay, and then, okay, you could see that there are two membrane layers. Okay, the the outer shell membrane, and the inner shell membrane. So just imagine, it's very hard for even water or microorganisms to pass through the two membranes. And of course, the albumin contains, okay, albumins, which all have the anti-germicidal effects. Okay, this could be your, let me see my notes again. Okay, you know the albumin would contain the proteins of transferrin, of mucoid, and your lysosome. Oh, so that's your the reason, some of the reasons why the egg would stay fresh longer, even at room temperature, than any other foods. Okay, so let me again summarize it. There's the presence of the bloom, the reason why eggs could stay longer, can be stored longer even at room temperature, is the presence of the bloom, the presence of the two layers, and the presence of your ovotransferrin, ovomucoid, and lysosome, which all have the anti-germicidal effects. But your egg also contain anti-nutrients. The albumin is avidin, which can bind up with biotin. So if you eat a lot of eggs, especially raw eggs, okay, then your avidin, okay, binds with um, uh, binds with your B vitamins or with that of biotin. So avidin binds with B vitamins, your biotin, and of course, uh, may deplete you of biotin. So kasi sa manok, yung lack of biotin is reflected doon sa ang kuko, nagkukulubot-kulubot o pangit ang ng kuko. Kulang yung sa biotin. So that could also happen sa tao. And your ovomucoid, which is anti-germicidal, okay, can also inhibit trypsin. And again, we see the trypsin is involved, okay, in it's a growth factor, okay, that is involved in growing or in growth. Okay. Um, Another possible for exam item, because this was good a long time ago. Why is it that chicken egg is used in baking and not duck? What would be your possible answer? Okay, because duck eggs does not contain ovomucin. Chicken egg has ovomucin, which is responsible for that, okay, foamy structure, in creating that foamy structure or developing that foamy structure, okay, in baking. What are some of the deteriorative changes during storage? Most of the chemical and physical changes that occur in the egg during storage evolve from the reaction of the carbonic acid and bicarbonates present as buffers with the white. And this is the reaction. You have sodium bicarbonate, carbonic acid, a base and an acid when it reacts, produces uh, produces another base, sodium carbonate, and of course, a lot of water and carbonate. So this is happening inside the egg. So inside the egg. So there is an increased amount of water, okay, in the albumin, okay. There is also an increased carbon dioxide in the air and an increased base inside the um, egg. So you see, so the carbon dioxide concentration inside the egg as a result of the reaction of the carbonates and sodium carbonates and carbonic acid, okay, so results in an increased concentration of carbon dioxide. So what happens to your carbon dioxide? Okay, your carbon dioxide escapes, resulting what? Okay, in an increase in the size of the air cell. Fresh egg, small size. Okay, stored egg. Okay, you have increased in its size. And the pH rises as a result of the loss of carbon dioxide and formation of a more strong base of your sodium carbonate. Okay, so there's a change of pH 7.9 to 9.3 in egg white. Oh, the pH is actually associated with the bad smell ng nabubulok na, okay, oh, nabubulok na itlog. And there is an increase in organic phosphorus and ammonia, resulting in that no organic phosphorus and ammonia, resulting in that bad smell, undesirable smell. Nakaano na ba kayo ng bugok na itlog? Again, take a look, as I mentioned, okay, there is an increased concentration of carbon dioxide as a result of the reactions of the sodium carbonate and carbonic acid. Okay, so this now, the concentration of your carbon dioxide inside, okay, the egg, okay, is greater than that of the outside. So its tendency is to escape through the porous eggshell. And of course, there is also accompanied by an increase in water content, diluting the albumin. So your stored egg actually, would like this because of the increase in water content, inside the egg, an increase in carbon dioxide. Okay, so the concentration of carbon dioxide is higher than outside, so it gets out, pulling this one, creating a pressure in this one, a vacuum, and so the air space enlarges. Then the egg yolk is no longer at the center; it gets off-centered, okay? And because the chalasaya or spoken, okay, chalasaya is water soluble. Okay. That is brought about by the increase in water content. Okay, solubilizes their chalice. It is also not only off-centered, but it flattens. It loses its firmness and rigidity. It does not hold its shape anymore. Okay, that is because your vitelline membrane is also water soluble. So increase in water content dilutes, dissolves the vitelline membrane, and then results in a flat, okay, egg yolk. There is also um, egg white thinning or egg white thinning or spreading due to the dilution, okay, of the egg white with an increased amount of water inside the cell. And of course, there is formation of greenish discoloration at the interface of the yolk and the white when egg is overcooked. Diba minsan pag overcook yung ating egg, usually the recommendation ngayon is simmer, not boil. So soft simmered egg and hard simmered egg. So formation of venous discoloration. This is your iron sulfide. Okay, you have iron. Okay, both iron, especially in the egg yolk, and of course your uh, sulfide also in the egg white. So upon storage, they would react and to form your iron sulfide, which would result in okay the darkening of the interface of the yolk and the white when overcooked. Okay, this reaction, the formation of that iron sulfide, is a reaction that is favored by high cooking temperature and prolonged cooking. And this is also the reason why, no, it is recommended that after cooking, you immediately immerse or soak the egg in cold water. One, okay, to reduce residual heat, no, to avoid overcooking. And second, no, and second is to um, is for it's the easy separation of the eggshell with the okay the outer thin membrane. So let me now discuss the uses of egg. Of course, a serve. Okay, it is coagulated when you apply heat. The proteins in the egg coagulate and they are served as is, like okay, in the shell, soft cook, say for 5 minutes, and hard cook for 15 minutes. And poach or cuddled that is cooked in simmering water. Okay, you may add salt and vinegar to hasten coagulation. Okay, the difference between poached and cuddled again is that in cuddling, okay, you use a container. So you place the egg in the container and then cook it in simmering water. Fried, keep low to moderate temperature. Scrambled, okay, take note that when you add sugar, okay, into egg, that would delay coagulation, meaning it would take a longer time to coagulate. However, the addition of liquids and acids, okay, it would coagulate, okay, coagulation. It would decrease, no, it would decrease, okay, the time to coagulate. So that means it would coagulate faster with the addition of liquids and acids. X as an emulsifier, yes. Before we use we use egg as an emulsifying agent in mayonnaise. Because now no more we use the monoglycerides and the diglyceride as the emulsifying agent. So fat itself, you know, as an emulsifying and agent in the preparation of mayonnaise. Okay, that's why mayonnaise now is white. If you add eggs with the egg yolk, you see it is yellow. Okay, egg is a very good emulsifying agent. Why? Because it contains, okay, your lecithin and lysolecithin, which are responsible for the Remarkable ability of egg to yolk as an emulsifying agent. A good emulsifying agent is one that contains both in the polar and the non-polar end. Okay. Why would it would act as a way of saying making any emulsion stable? Because the non-polar, no, like the non-polar, uh, um, like fat or oil, okay, would be held by this, okay, um, non-polar end. On the polar end, okay, the water will be held, okay, by this polar end. So no matter what you do, even if your mayonnaise is shaken, okay, then it will not be destabilized. It will not be broken. Okay, because of the ability of the proteins in the egg to be coagulated, it is a good binding, thickening, leavening, clarifying, interfering, and even gelling agents. You know, kasi it has the ability to solidify or to coagulate. As foam, okay, it has also the ability, when beaten, to trap into its structure, no, to create air cells or to the air cell structure air. Okay. Let me now mention to you what are the stages in foam formation. Frothy, yung nagsisimula pa lang, formation of large air bubbles that flow easily, like in gumagawa ng scrambled egg, that's frothy. Soft foam, okay, you lift the bitter, okay, when the soft peaks bend, when the soft, ano, when the soft peak bends, then that is okay, soft foam, and the foams become whiter. The stiff foam on the other hand is uh, when you tip the bowl, no, okay, it holds, meaning the whole the whole mixture, no, like the whole meringue, would go with the tipping of the bowl. It is moist and glossy, and the peaks hold their shape. No, when you lift the bitter, it holds its shape. It will not bend. And of course, overbeating can cause dryness. Okay, and this is characterized by moistness and glossiness disappearing, and specks of egg white are seen. Okay, foam applications in cookery is a very good leavening agent because, as I've said, it can trap into its structure, no, when beaten, okay, air. Also as coloring and flavoring agent. So, what are the effects of the added ingredients? Take note. As regards stability, sugar, okay, stabilize egg white cells. It inhibits mechanical coagulation of proteins necessary to, okay, foam formation. Fluid increases volume up to 40%, but decreases stability. Salt decreases stability and volume of the egg white foam, that's EWF, and acid, okay, stabilizes the foam. So remember the effects of these different ingredients because you will be encountering this, okay, during baking, okay, and that will on, no, the effect of these ingredients, okay, on stability and volume formation. Okay, let's define a few terms that I've been using. When you say denaturation, this is an irreversible change in the specific folding and shape that a protein assumes to take. A little bit later, I will show what is this specific folding. Coagulation represents the further process that occurs when denatured proteins become molecules form a solid mass. So you see, you have egg, no? It is liquid, okay? And okay, when you cook it, it turns solid. That is coagulation. Curdling, curdling occurs beyond coagulation, which result in an egg mixture shrinking or becoming tough. tough. It's okay. So these are the types of protein structure. This is the folding that okay that is broken okay in denaturation. No? So in denaturation, okay, the folding is broken, like especially the quaternary structure, tertiary structure is broken. So and then further heating, okay, would result in the form your um, formation or coagulation of the proteins. Now let's take up milk. So milk is the secretion of the mammary glands, intended as a source of nourishment for the young animals. So only mammals, including the whale, okay, produce milk. Okay, and these are the composition of milk. You have milk, you have water, milk solids. Your milk solids are further divided into milk solids than fat. So nandun yung lactose nyo, minerals, okay, and protein. And, uh, and the proteins are further divided into, or the main protein in milk is casein, okay, and the whey proteins, okay, will be that of your lactalbumin and your lactalbumin and lactoglobulin. This milk solids, okay, so this is non-fat, okay, this is fat, milk fat. Your fat in milk is called milk fat. Fat in milk. The fat in milk is called milk fat and exists either as true fat, so that would be your triglycerides or neutral fats, in association with other substances or bound to other substances like in lecithin, okay, carotene, and cholesterol. Plus, at this point, cholesterol and fats are entirely quite different compounds. Cholesterol is not fat, and fat is not cholesterol, but both belongs, but both belongs to the lipids. Okay, just like meat, okay, the proteins in meat are complete proteins, meaning it contains both the essential and the non-essential amino acids. And mainly the proteins in milk are casein and the whey proteins. So that is casein. Actually, this is the protein that is precipitated, okay, with acid or certain enzyme to produce a curd, okay, or cheese. The liquid portion of the milk, okay, generally is composed of the water, lactose, and whey proteins. The whey proteins are primarily lactalbumin and lactoglobulin. The lactalbumin is when you heat meat, tapos namumuo sa tabihan saka sa ilalim yung milk. Okay, that is your lactalbumin. And of course, there are a lot of enzymes in milk. That's why milk is easily digested. You have protease, lactase, lipase, amylase, and catalase. But we do not want, upon analysis, phosphatase to be present because if the enzyme phosphatase present, meaning that the milk has not properly pasteurized. No? So this is an indication of improper of proper processing okay, of the milk. And of course, I mentioned also earlier that the main carbohydrate or the main sugar that is found in milk is lactose, okay, and is also called as your milk sugar. Well, in among minerals, calcium, as calcium phosphate predominates among others, phosphorus is in combination with casein forming phosphoprotein, and there you find their magnesium, sodium, manganese, sulfur, and even iodine. The vitamins are contained in milk except vitamin C and niacin. Riboflavin furnishes that green tinge or green tint of milk. The yellowish tinge is due to carotene, the precursor of vitamin A. Let's talk about market forms of milk, but this time I hold you again responsible for this detailed description of one. And please take note, what is the difference between whole milk and raw milk? The difference between pasteurized, sterilized, and ultra high temperature. Okay. And homogenized milk, skimmed milk, and fortified skimmed milk. Also, the difference between evaporated whole milk, recombined evaporated milk, evaporated filled milk, sweetened condensed milk, dried whole milk, and dried skim milk. What if a board um, board exam item or question item asks you, what will you do? Okay, the recipe needs evaporated whole milk. No, yes, the recipe uh, requires the use of whole milk. But what you have is evaporated whole milk. So how would you, okay, reconstitute evaporated whole milk? Okay, so that it has the same composition of that whole milk. And then if you have instant milk, chocolate milk, you have instant milk, chocolate milk, infant feed formula, cultured milk like yogurt, wherein the milk is, of course, to which microorganisms, okay, lactobacillus rota strain in yogurt is allowed to ferment milk. They are good probiotics. Let's now discuss milk and milk cookery. Application of it, yes. Protein coagulation starts at 65 degrees centigrade with lactalbumin as the first to be okay, denatured. Okay. In fact, okay, casein needs higher temperature to coagulate. Okay. And of course, heating inactivate the enzyme lipase, no? Which can cause sensitivity, and heat can also develop browning due to Maillard reaction. And the addition of acid enzymes, salts, and alkaloids would hasten, okay, coagulation. Where do you get alkaloids? Okay, tomatin from tomatoes. Okay, and what else? Okay, so tomatin from tomatoes. Let me see my notes again. Couldn't remember. So where do you get alkaloids? Okay, one, the alkaloids, you can get it from coffee. So caffeine, theobromine in in, um, in cacao, theophylline in tea, tomatin in tomatoes, and solanine in potatoes. Okay. These are all um, okay alkaloid compounds.
Okay, that we can end her lecture. We can end her lecture on that. I'll call on Doc Hurtada to answer some of your questions if you have. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you virtually. It's really be hard. I find it really hard lecturing with missing just my screen. No, so apologize for minsan may nawawalang words, mahina. Then before you ask your questions, let me just know as I went through, I was with you when you were viewing or listening to my slide presentation. And Kimberly, my question was, why is chicken egg used in baking rather than that duck eggs? So sakit ako sinagot, medyo malapit. But it has ovomucin. Duck eggs does not have ovomucin, not ovomucoid. Ovomucoid is it is a sort of anti nutrient. It inhibits trypsin, and you know that trypsin is involved in growth of cells, especially in repairing tissues. No, yung ovomucin is responsible for that foamy structure, spongy structure, okay, that you would like to attain in baking, especially in the cooking or in the baking of foam cakes. And then I think I mentioned that pectic acids is found in ripe fruits. No, that's wrong. Okay, pectic acids are found in overripe fruits. Okay, but it should be your pectin, no, not your pectin, but it should be your pectinic acids. And then in winemaking, I think I missed this out too. So in winemaking, you have the fruit juice and any fermentable carbohydrates, be it starch, sugars. You add the yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. That changes your fruit juice, your fermentable carbohydrates, into carbon dioxide and alcohol, not water. I also forgot to emphasize that dry heat method, okay, of cooking, the dry heat method. Now, in the examples I saw there, it's boiling. No, boiling is wet. Okay, but instead change that, put an R in it. That is broiling. Okay, also, okay, conduction is a slow mode of heat transfer because that is a transfer, direct transfer from solid to solid materials. Convection is faster kasi nagsisirculate, nagsisirculate yung kanyang. What more else? Okay. You said incomplete proteins in legumes and in vegetables. I think I forgot to mention essentials. I said there's lacking in one or two or more proteins, amino acids. Okay, but there must be only essential amino acids. That's why it makes the proteins in meat incomplete. Now, I also mentioned that when you remove the core in the pineapple, the pineapple loses its fiber strength. No, it's not. Okay, nababawasan lang, reduces. No, but what is lost is actually in the interface between the core and the fleshy portion or the fibrous portion, doon ginagawa, doon nasisynthesize ang vitamin C. So, pag hindi masyadong maganda ang inyong pag-alis ng core, halos nawala na rin yung enzymes na nag-aano ng vitamin C at saka yung vitamin C na napoproduce. Why is fish? Okay. Then I forgot also to mention bakit ang fish ay laging kinakain na may seasonings. Because generally it's bland. Kasi wala nga siyang extractives, that specific mga nitrogenous products of non-nitrogenous, okay, and products of protein metabolism that gives that very nice, pleasant tasting in red meats than fish. Kaya ang fish kailangan kasi medyo matabang, laging may asin o may toyo o may patis o may food seasonings. Ano pa ba yun? Yeah, board exam may ask. Okay, ano yung, saan nyo na makikita ang pinakamaliit na isda? O mga taga Bicol. Bicol State University, anybody? O meron ka dyan, o Catanduan State University. I used to have students coming from there, and I have also a faculty member wherein a master student from Catanduan State University. Ayun. Yes, you're right, Jane. Jana Ocampo. Pandaka pygmea po ba yun, ma'am? From Lake Bugi? One of the smallest fish. Nakalagay yun sa Guinness Book of Records. O sa Tagalog daw yun daw ay sinarapan. Ewan ko, pero may term pa sa Bicol. I know, I just forgot what it's called. No, sinarapan. Ano ba yung mga ano ko? All the rest, my apologies. Bisa nawawala talaga yung aking conjunction and ano. And sometimes it is important. So run through again the whole slide presentation. You know, this is the idea. Let me tell you as a tip, so that you can remember. Kaya dami-dami yung magkakaroon kayo ng information load. Ano? I used to see this with my students, no, with my children, para silang doktor. Isang doktor ng hayop, isang doktor ng animal. Pag sila yung nag-aaral, bakit ang dami nilang highlighter? Ay, doon pala nila natatandaan. Pag nagbibigay daw ng question sa board exam, ay, ito, natatandaan. At saka hindi sila nagsasaulo, but they keep on reading. This is your first session. So mamaya, walang gallivanting. No TV till PM. No cell phone, but you look at your go back to it, read your book, supplement the slides with the reading because it's more complete there. We've tried as much as possible to have a complete information in the book. The review is just to tickle your mind, so nilalagay namin yung mga importante, mga mas importante, to highlight para ma-remember nyo. Okay, so that's it. So may mga tanong pa po. Ano pa ba yun? Nasaan pa ba yung mga what time po ba ma-upload ang recording? Ay, ayan. Ikaw yan makakasagot.
Yes, once ma-render ng Zoom, then i-transfer namin sa G Drive and then i-upload sa portal. So I believe it's within the day. Within the day after nung session, no? So we will be uploading the Zoom session, like this Zoom session, exactly this Zoom session. Yun po yung ilalagay. Ma'am, may nagtatanong yung male and female crab. What's the answer daw sa inyong trivia?
Sabi sa inyo, trivia yun eh. Ayun, trivia lang yun. Hindi yung totoo. Kaya lang, minsan boring. Minsan, di ba? Kaya minsan magpapatawa ka. Marami akong jokes. Kaya lang, totoo yung while doing it, marami akong jokes. Kaya mga estudyante ko tawa ng tawa. But I cannot do it. I'm pressed for time. It's really quite different. It's really quite different to be teaching. And as I've said, ang harap ko ay ang aking lang same notes. Okay, ano daw yung pakiulit po kung ano yung alkaloids. Okay, the alkaloids would include, let me see again, my notes. One would be, yes, caffeine from coffee, theobromine from your cacao, theophylline from your tea, and tomatine, okay, from the tomatoes. So yun yung mga possible na kapag sinama mo sa egg, it would somehow delay coagulation ng egg. Okay. So yun ang mga so again, caffeine, theobromine, theophylline, these are the stimulants that you find in beverages, coffee and tea and chocolates. And of course your tomatine in tomato. Klaro po libre, yung ovomucol po ba may germ? Yes, may germicidal effect din siya. Pero at the same time, pwede siyang anti-nutrient because ovomucol inhibits trypsin. Okay, trypsin is an enzyme that is involved in the tissue repair, in the tissue repair and in the growth of cells.
Okay, ma'am, yung answer sa crabs.
Answer sa crabs. Ganito. Alimango at alimasag. Aling Wilma, aling Jane, ale. So, masag, mango, pag babae. Pag lalaki, mamang Ebron, mamang Ayan. So, mamango at mamasag. But that's the truth. Tama may nag-comment dito. Kapag sa market ngayon, meron pag daw yung malapad, yung nandito sa ilalim ng carapace. Oo, yun daw ay babae. Yun daw ay babae. Pag yung lalaki yung makipid, no? Yun
Yung,
ay
yung pointed, yung parang
lalaki.
triangle.
Pero ngayon sa palengke, mas mahal kaya yung binabae
Babae.
o yung
Yung
bakla.
binabae.
Kasi
Yung
mas
bilog.
masarap, mas masarap daw yung kanilang, ano tawag daw, yung alige, yung fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, meron dito, just to confirm, does it delay or hasten coagulation referring to alkaloids?
The alkaloids, okay,
Does it
well,
delay or hasten coagulation?
well, it's basically, it would delay coagulation pag dinagdagan mo. Isinama mo siya. You try it. Maglagay ka ng kamatis, okay, magdi-delay siya ng coagulation. Yung tomatin. Kamatis kasi relatively ay siya acidic. So magdi-delay siya ng yung coagulation.
And then a question about the composition of evaporated milk and whole milk. Is it the same?
Assignment nyo yan. Putok ko sa sagot. Hindi. Kasi whole milk, wala ka pang na-change sa isang kanyang composition. Ngayon, pag ginawa mong evaporated, almost you have evaporated 50%, 40 to 50% of the water has been removed. So if the set recipe calls for whole milk, no, at meron kang evaporated milk, so anong pwede mong gawin? Diba? Say the recipe calls for 1 cup whole milk. No? So anong gagawin mo? So mag-measure ka ng 1/2 cup na evaporated whole milk, tapos dagdagan mo ng tubig. Now that becomes, okay, you reconstitute it with the same composition as that of whole milk. Kaya sabi ko sa niya, pag-igihan nyo. Now, the difference ng iba't ibang pasteurized, sterilized, pag pasteurized, only that is subjecting the meat and with temperatures below 100 degrees centigrade. That only kills the non-pathogenic microorganisms. Pero, pag sinabi mong sterilized, both that is high above, okay, not high above, wag high, kasi pa nag-high, nagka-curdle ang meat. So at 100 degrees centigrade or a little bit higher is sterilization. So that kills both the pathogenic and the non-pathogenic microorganism. Yung ultra high heat, yun yung parang tina-flash mo lang yung milk. So that could be from 112 pataas. So the milk, as it passes through the heat, parang a second lang. And that, of course, again, is just like sterilized milk. Okay, destroys both the pathogenic and the non-pathogenic microorganisms.
Thank you for that. Sabi po ni Jeannie Bell, ang cute nyo daw.
Thank you. Anong pinakita sa inyong picture niya? Yung akin pang, pinakita mo ba yung ako yung nakasablay?
Opo, pero I think she's referring to you now.
Alam mo, yung nakasablay ako, that was 12 years ago. Oy, ang dami kayang may gusto ng picture na yun.
Hindi halata, ma'am. Yun lagi ang ginagamit ng Insta.
Yan ang ginagamit nila. But I said, no, don't look like her anymore. I have already grown older. I'm already going 69. Ayun. You keep on smiling. That's the kahit may problema, lagi kang tumawa. And you keep on daldal. I do that. Yung ganito, yung answer, pagkain mo ba, mo na. You keep on doing that because you see, when I was teaching, sabi nila, kung mag-lecture daw ako is at the rate of 240 kilometers per hour. Blah, 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 blah. Sabi ko, that's good because that will not keep you sleepy. Kasi hinahabol mo habang nagsasalita ako. Ito, hinahabol mo yung aking notes. Tapos hindi ako nagpapahiram ng aking PowerPoint. Yun lang. Now, thank you so much. It's very nice to hear that.
Thank you po so much for doing the recording lectures for this batch. Tomorrow we'll have her second day session. Hopefully more participants will be able to join live. Otherwise, the session will be uploaded in the portal again. Yeah. So